welcome back to another video. This is Kim and I'm really glad you're here. I wanted to talk about DoorDash's acceptance rate and why it doesn't matter and why you need to pick the delivery offers that make sense to you. I hear so much drama back and forth about why did you take that one, it was too low, or you drove too far, or why do you wait so long at the restaurant. It's, you know what, we can choose to take whatever offers we want, wait as long as we want, drive as far as we want. We are independent contractors, we can make our own decisions, and that's what this video is about. I want to explain what an independent contractor is and why DoorDash, Grubhub, Instacart, etc. cannot force you to take a job. Any offer, anything they offer, you have the right to decline. Anyways, before we get started, please don't forget to subscribe. And so let's get going. Okay, so first of all, I want to go over what is an independent contractor. It's a little confusing. I read all the pages on the government site here. This is for California, so other states may vary. This is purely for California information, but this is the link where I read all this information from. So this is the official definition for California. Okay, the usual definition of an independent contractor is someone who is in business for him or herself and not for an employer or supervisor. Traditionally, independent contractors in California have the rights to decide when and where they work, set their own fees, have multiple clients, have their own tools and materials, provide skills or expertise that is not part of a company's usual repertoire. So this part right here is a little sketchy because as a DoorDash driver, the driving and the delivering is core to what DoorDash is. So a little shady right there. An independent contractor is his or her own boss. A company might hire an independent contractor to perform work for the company, but that doesn't necessarily make the contractor an employee of that company. So in 2019, AB 5 was signed into law. This law addresses the employee status of workers, so whether you're an employee or a contractor. California uses the ABC test to determine whether someone is considered an employee or an independent contractor. You must meet all three criteria to be considered an independent contractor. If one of these is not valid, then you are an employee. So this is interesting, and next I'm going to look up and read the Proposition 22 really good and see if that overrides any of this, and that's why we can still be considered independent contractors, because I'm not really sure. I'm not an attorney. I actually just read this information on the website. So if my information is incorrect, I apologize. If you know something I'm saying is incorrect or false in any way, please let me know in the comments. I would really appreciate it. So anyways, the ABC test. According to the State of California Department of Industrial Relations, the worker must satisfy each of the following conditions to be considered an independent contractor and not an employee. The following screens are not super easy to understand, but I think I get what they're saying. I literally read this page so many times today and tried to understand exactly what each thing was saying. Okay, so part A of the ABC test basically asks this question. Is the worker free from the control and direction of the hiring entity in the performance of work, both under the contract for the performance of the work and in fact? And there's a couple more follow-up things. A worker who is subject, either as a matter of contractual right or in actual practice, to the type and degree of control a business typically exercises over employees would be considered an employee. Depending on the nature of the work and the overall arrangement between the parties, a business need not control the precise manner or details of the work in order to be found to have maintained the necessary control that an employer ordinarily possesses over its employees. So basically that all means an independent contractor has full control of when, where, and how often they work. So the employer cannot control any of those things. Gig economy drivers, this is true. We have full control over when, where, and how often we work. Okay, part B of the ABC test basically says, does the worker perform work that is outside the usual course of the hiring entity's business? This one's a little shady in my opinion, but here, let's move forward. Examples where the services are not part of the hiring entity's usual course of business. Okay, a retail store hires a plumber to fix a leak. So he doesn't work at that store. He just comes in to fix the leak. A retail store hires an electrician to fix wires. He also doesn't work at that store. He's been hired to come in and fix a wire. So this plumber is an independent contractor, and so is this electrician. Or they're a actual corporation or business that the company has hired. Here's some examples where services are part of the hiring entity's usual course of business. A clothing manufacturer hires work-at-home seamstress to make dresses from cloth and patterns supplied by the company that will later be sold by the company. A bakery hires cake decorators to work on a regular basis on its custom design cakes. On a regular basis is the key here, and that they supply the supplies, basically, is the key here. So basically, an independent contractor is not under the control of the hiring entity and is not supplied with everything needed to perform the job. And I think that's the way that the gig economy drivers pass this Part B portion. I read this many times because I think that delivering the food, which is what we do, is a core part of Doordash, Grubhub, etc. Their business. That's the usual course of business. That's what their business is delivering this food. So I'm not sure how this actually isn't met. But like I said, because they don't give us all the supplies we need, we have to use our own cars, our own gas, etc. And yes, we work on a regular basis, but we don't have a schedule. You can log in and work whenever you want, or not work at all. You can work, every day for 2 weeks and then not work again for 6 months. They have no control over that. So that's my take on this. And here's the part C of the ABC test. Is the worker customarily engaged in an independently established trade, occupation, or business of the same nature as the work performed by the hiring entity? The hiring entity cannot unilaterally determine a worker's status simply by assigning the worker the label independent contractor, or by requiring the worker as a condition of hiring to enter into a contract that designates the worker as an independent contractor. An individual who independently has made the decision to go into business generally takes the usual steps to establish and promote that independent business. Examples of this include incorporation, licensure, and advertisements, routine offerings to provide the services of an independent business to the public or a number of potential customers, and the like. So this is another one that's kind of confusing. But basically, an independent contractor is not required to work for only one employer. They are free to work for whoever they want and perform services for each in any form. So for gig economy drivers, this is true. So you pick which app you want to use. You pick when you want to work. You pick how often you want to work. You pick where you want to work, actually. So, this is very confusing. And like I said, I spent the whole day reading this because I wanted to understand it for myself. And since I went to all that work, I want to share it with you. So there is also something called the Borreloa test. This is another test to determine whether someone is an independent contractor or an employee. In 1989, California Supreme Court came up with this test. It relies on multiple factors to determine whether the potential employer has all the necessary control over a person to accomplish the desired result. If so, then they are an employee. There is no one single factor that determines whether someone is an employee or independent contractor. All are assumed employees unless the employer can prove otherwise. The complexity of the Borreloa test and the introduction of AB5 have made it so that most laws now refer only to AB5 for any work done after January 1st, 2020. So I won't really go into the Borreloa test, but I just wanted to mention it. So if you actually do your own research, you'll see it mentioned. And it's really just, that was how independent contractors were categorized before AB5 was put into law. Employment status determinations made by EDD, that's for unemployment, Employment Development Department, I think it's called, now use the AB5 process to determine claim status for unemployment insurance or state disability. So that's, they no longer use the Borreloa test. They also use the AB5. So what does this all have to do with acceptance rate? I kind of went around the block here, but because we are independent contractors, as described in the previous screens, we cannot be forced to take any delivery offers that we don't want. We have the freedom to choose. We can decline any delivery offer for any reason. We can decide not to take deliveries from anywhere, whether that's from a different city or a different restaurant or whatever. We don't have to tell them why even. You just can decline it. We can decide how often we work. We can decide how long we work. We can decide which location we want to work from. We have full control. If it doesn't make sense to you, don't do it. Don't cave to peer pressure. Don't cave to the top dasher stuff if you don't want to. Whatever works for you and makes you feel comfortable is what you should do. If you want to take the $6 offers, that, go for it. If you don't want to, you don't have to. I personally don't. I need to make it, I need to make a certain amount of money. And so I have a criteria that I follow. And you need to do that for yourself. Don't worry about what other people think. This is your gig. This is your thing. You have to be comfortable with the decisions you make. I also wanted to show this. This is actually from the Doordash policy page. So it says the acceptance rate is the percent of times a dasher accepts a delivery that is offered to him or her through the app. Before a dasher decides whether to accept a delivery opportunity, the Dasher app provides a number of key facts about the order, including the name of the merchant, the destination of the delivery, and the pay. As an independent contractor, dashers have the right to decline any delivery opportunity offered to them. However, by accepting an order for delivery, they are agreeing to complete that delivery. The completion rate is the percent of deliveries that a dasher completes of those that they accepted. So completion rate is different than the acceptance rate. The completion rate, they do rank you on, and you can be deactivated if it falls too low. So if you accept an order, do your very best to complete it. And if you accept an order and it just becomes horrible, or you just know that it's not going to end well for whatever reason, then you can unassign it. But try to keep your completion rate high. But the acceptance rate does not matter. It says here right in the Doordash policy terms. So I just want to reiterate that we are independent contractors. We are our own bosses. Doordash is not our employer. We have signed up and applied to work for them, but not in an employer fashion. We are independent contractors. You are your own boss. Make your own decisions. Anyways, I hope that clarifies things and just didn't make it cloudier. But like I said, if I'm in error, if I've missaid something, or if you don't agree with me, please put it down in the comments. I want to learn. And like I said, I spent the entire day reading all this, and I really want to understand. And I think I do, but if you think I'm wrong, please let me know. And I'll see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe.